Well, while we normally are talking about our mysteries, today we are going back to the holidays and doing a little bit of the Hallmark mysteries, the and more part, with a very special guest, actor, writer, and director, Lucie Guest.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
How are you doing, Lucie?
Hi, Eric. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
So, as I just mentioned, you are a triple threat, and we don't need to go all the way back to, your childhood, unless maybe that's part of it. But just tell us a little bit about how you became this sort of triple force in entertainment. Was this like something you always liked, like all three aspects of it, kind of fell into two of the three?
Well, a little bit. I mean, I think I've always been such a fan of directors. I think it was like 17. This is dating me, but I sent a VHS tape. Also, whatever's on the internet says I'm 10 years younger than I am, and I can't fix that. But anyways, I sent a VHS tape to Steven Soderbergh. I found his address somewhere. I'm sure it was like his agency or representatives. I can't even remember. I don't remember how I did that, but I sent him this like homemade movie I had made. It's like, I'm such a huge fan. Please let me shadow you. Or I think I said like be your assistant or something like that. So I've always like really looked at film, like movies, and after I'd watched them, I'd sort of like take them apart in my mind, and like I was fascinated by directing, and I put directors on such a pedestal that I didn't think it was something that I would just do naturally. I thought that's something that down the line and in years and years when I'm older, I would have a lot more experience, and that's something that I could consider. And also I didn't really see a lot of myself in directors. I knew Penny Marshall, and I was obviously a fan of hers. And so I didn't really see it reflected too much. So it was sort of like something I put far away in the future and didn't think that that's something that I should focus on currently. And then I was very focused on acting, and I did a bunch of acting, and then I kind of got into, and I was obviously excited about comedy. So with comedy came a lot of writing, sketch writing. I did a tiny bit of stand-up, not very long. And then Second City really, and Groundlings in LA, I learned how to like develop characters, and a lot of that was with writing. And so I kind of fell into the writing, and then I found this is a long answer, Eric. I'm like rambling. You'll have to cut me off. But basically when I was doing Second City in Toronto, there was a CBC comedy coup thing. And it was to win $500,000 to make your show. And so I gathered a team, and we wrote this pilot, and the challenge was every week you'd have to direct a little clip of your show. You'd have to direct some little segment of it. And I was like calling the universities asking for a director because I didn't. And then by then I had been on set for 10 years and was a director's assistant. And I was like, why am I asking first-time film students to direct these things when I have more experience and I obviously know how to direct these things? So I started directing them. And then from there, I just kept getting asked to direct people's projects. It kind of just came naturally after that. It just sort of snowballed, I guess. But it came, like you said, a little bit like it was something that I saw on the trajectory, but it came a lot faster than I thought, and it came kind of naturally out of like me. I needed a sort of the service to get this, to win this thing. So I just kind of.
How did you do?
We did. We made top. So our script got optioned through CBC, and we made the sort of top 5 finalists. We didn't win the $500,000, but it was 350 teams, and we were down to the top 5. So, and at that time, I think we did pretty great. I don't know. It was very fun. Good learning experience. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said that the internet lies about your age, which I'm shocked that Google could lie about anything.
How
that
dare
was
they,
the
internet?
source of all true information. But it also did say that you are a Taurus. Now, is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
Are you a Taurus?
I am not. My wife and my daughter are, so I'm very familiar with your kind.
Yeah, we're
some of those traits are that you love stability, you take comfort and consistency, you value honesty above all else, you don't shy away from hard work, enjoy all things luxurious and cozy, set in your ways, not fond of authority, and a perfectionist. Now, are you, according to the Google, an actual Taurus, would you say?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay, so are my wife and my daughter.
Yeah. Are you a Virgo?
No, I'm a Libra.
Libra. Okay, love Libras.
So,
I have a Libra rising, and I have a lot of Libra friends. There's like that. I think that's just a great combination, Taurus Libra.
well, my wife hates it because I cannot make a decision to make to save my life. And she just like, make the decision. Where are we going to dinner? I'm like, I don't know. Where do you want to go? And that is not the right way to do it. Okay, we will come back to that in a second.
Okay.
But so we just finished the holidays. What was your best gift that you got?
Oh, I think the best gift that I got was just spending time with family. We lucked out. My sister had got this little cabin in Whistler, which is a ski
Right.
town north of Vancouver. I think it's north. I don't know, but it's not in Vancouver. But we spent some time in Whistler, and I'm learning how to ski. So that was the best gift
You're
ever.
supposed to like things luxurious. Come on.
That's right. Well, ski resort is
Oh, yes.
a
Ski is not
luxurious
cheap.
resort, Eric. It's very.
That is a good
Of all
point.
the ski resorts you could be at, I think this was the tourist one.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you were saying before you got into directing, you didn't see a lot of, people who are similar to you. I'm assuming you're talking women. But so who are like your role models who are out there?
In terms of directors,
Just in general.
oh, in general. Oh, I do really like a Canadian director. His name is Jean-Marc Vallée. He's recently passed, but I really like his work. And I am a huge fan of cinema and movies. I just watch everything. I used to be part of a film club, and we would watch a new movie every week, and just talk about it for a couple of years. So I think what I really like is when I see any type of director. I'm going to talk about directors now, and I guess this really happens with writers and or any artist, actors as well. When there's when you can tell that there's been some attention to detail, or they've put thought into what they're doing. I just find that so inspiring. And that's not to say that something that's messy and alive doesn't have a lot of thought. Like that also to me has a lot of thought. I think it's not even technical. Like it could be a Cassavetes thing, which feels just like so like alive and not so structured. Or you could talk about something that's like a Fincher, which is way more structured. I like them both. I like everything that has like sort of something specific, even if I don't like the genre or that director's taste or anything. I do appreciate when I can tell somebody's put some level of detail into their planning, and then I can see it. I really nerd out about that. I think that's pretty exciting.
And because of your training and your just behind the scenes type knowledge, I'm assuming you can see these little details better than me as a fan who just sort of sees this big thing and like, oh, that was a cute movie. Whereas you can see those details to tell, oh, they kind of just rolled with it, or, oh, that's a little thing that you normally wouldn't do. Right.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely leeway with it, because I wouldn't look at it the same way as I look at a movie that we make in 15 days, and we're making Christmas in the dead of summer, and you can't really look a certain direction because the other side is a field with people suntanning. You have like snow dressing on this side, and you really don't have the means to dress an entire field. So I think, and also I think they're within reason, like I like when there's been some sort of thought put into it, I guess, even within the like our Christmas movie world. For example, I sometimes go, oh, what is an interesting choice that they're just in this weird corner of that bar. And why aren't they showing any depth? They've really put the actors up against the walls here, and it's just kind of flat. And then you are put in that position where you have 3 moves in that week, and you can't do another company move, and you have to set shuffle to cheat one part of a building as something else. And then you realize, well, this is sort of like the scenario that we're in, and you kind of have to you can't win every battle when you have some limitations. You just try to make the best of what you have. And so I can also appreciate the level of detail within a certain sandbox, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't compare that to like a Kubrick film, but like, so I guess with some discerning, how do you say that? With some discernment, I guess. I wouldn't hold somebody like, why didn't you do this long tracking shot through this thing, when clearly they probably were so stuck to a specific location.
What is your favorite part of directing? Is it the prep? Is it the actual shooting? Or is it the post-production?
Oh, I'm a huge prep person, in that I just feel like the more prep you do, the better you're more equipped for the fires on the day, and you can focus on things that you can pivot a lot faster, I think. And then the edit is just satisfying and painful. Because to me, when I'm at the edit, I always think about all the things that like, oh, this happened that day, and that's why that, like, my perfectionism is, I don't even like to admit that there's perfectionism. That's probably the key of a Taurus too. You don't want to admit it, but it's not a great quality. But yeah, so it's a love and hate thing. And usually when you get the first like cut of the edit, you like, for me, every time I'm sort of like, oh gosh, like we have a lot of work to do. And then usually by the second day, you're like, I love this movie. So there's like such a roller coaster ride of emotions. But and then production is such a whirlwind, and it's so alive, and it's very exciting, and there's always these like fires that you're putting out, but there's something about the like thriving in that chaos that's so exciting, I guess. So my answer, not a fun answer, is I guess I like aspects of all three things. I like a long prep. I've been put in situations a lot lately where I've had such short preps just because of the nature of needing things to be the release dates or this or that. Or there's and to me, I will say I don't like a short prep. I will do it, but I do like a little bit of a longer prep. Sometimes you are, you're racing through the prep process as well. Like you're doing these long days. And you're scouting, and you have to do your own prep on the evenings and weekends just because there's not really time for it.
Was Love on Harbor Island, you wrote that. Was that also the first one that you directed for Hallmark?
Yes, that was the first Hallmark one.
So how do you, as this non-established Hallmark director, and we're pretty young and everything, early in your career, how did you get to make that jump? Because we hear the story, there's the whole, which we'll talk about a little later, the, make her mark and all that. Like, how did you get there in that way?
Yeah, there wasn't make her mark then. And like, Ashley Williams is a genius for I don't know, I think that was her brainchild, but good on her. At the time, I think there weren't very many directors, female directors, and so I'm glad that she's like shepherding this project. But I had I had directed a rom-com that did well, and the producers of that rom-com, I pitched them a movie, like a Hallmark movie, and they liked it. And I wrote it very quickly. I wrote it with Andrea, my writing partner at the time, and we turned it around very quickly. I think in less than a month, like in 3 weeks. And then I feel like we were shooting it like within like a month and a half. Like it was or prepping within a month and a half. Like it was a very quick turnaround on that one. And they liked it, and then they wanted to do more. So then I think after that, I directed a Christmas movie and this other thing, and then COVID hit. So I think things kind of slowed down a bit, and but that was the genesis of it. The genesis was that I had I directed a short film basically, and it did what you would hope a short film could do, and in that it did really well in the festivals, and it opened a bunch of doors for me. I was very lucky in that way. Somebody who had seen the film put me forward to this producer who then gave me the chance on that first rom-com. So I was very lucky in that the short that I had directed kind of led me to having the opportunity to do my first feature length. And then it kind of grew from there.
Great.
Short films for the win.
You directed Sealed with a List back in 23. And
Yes.
Katie Finley and Evan Roderick, I'm on record as saying they literally don't miss. What was that? And that movie, by the way, did not miss. It was one of my favorite of that entire year.
Oh, thanks.
What was that whole production like when you saw the script and then the cast and just directing it and then seeing the final one? Were you as pleased as I was?
There's something about that movie that I really am agreeing with you. There's something about that movie that I love so much. I think it has a lot to do with Evan Roderick and Katie Finley. I also think they cannot miss. They're so captivating. They're such a breath of fresh air. They're so wonderful to be around. Katie is very sharp and funny, and Evan is they were just a great pairing. They really complemented each other so well. And then the fact that movie took place in a city, the entire movie, was also something that I was excited about, because it wasn't about going to a small town. It took place in a city the entire time, which had its challenges because we had to transform a lot of houses into apartments because we usually shoot outside the zone, and also shooting in small apartments is challenging. And so, yeah, I'm really happy with that movie. I think it's really special. I really, really like it, and I thought it turned out great. I'm very lucky with that script, and a few more scripts have come forward since then that have sort of maybe a different formula, and I just, they're a little bit more challenging, but I feel very lucky that I get these fun little challenging ones that are kind of different.
Well, while you did one movie in 23, you did 3 this past year in 24.
True.
So you had the Santa Claus, Jinglebell Run, and Christmas Under Lights, as well as you starred in Holidazed, right? So you had 3 you're directing and then 1 that you're acting in. And that one you're acting in was obviously several episodes. You were, I think, in 3. What was that schedule for you? Or were you filming way back in spring, so it really wasn't a rush in the fall?
Well, it was a rush. It kind of snowballed all on top of each other because there was sort of a delay in the start of the year. So it was kind of a slow start to the year, and then all of a sudden felt like, right on the heels of each other. And then the Santa Claus, which we did quite late in the year, everyone was sort of shocked when we said we were filming a Christmas movie. Like, it's now? I think we were still shooting in October, and we turned it around for December. It was such a fast and furious project. But yeah, it was the script was so great, and obviously we'll talk about that. But yeah, they kind of all became this kind of all in a row. Feels like they were all one giant movie. And then Holidays we actually shot way before, so there was no the overlap with that. It just had a delayed release date, it feels. So that part was all good.
Okay. So we know that decisions have to be made in the editing room. Was there any of the ones from this past year that, ended up on the cutting room floor that just pains you, and to this day you're still staying awake? Why couldn't I fit that in that hour and 24 minutes?
Oh, I mean, the Santa Claus was hard because there was so much improv and extra comedic stuff that we just couldn't, like, it was, yeah, that one. There's one scene that is in the car where Ben and Kimberly have their like next day, like passionate teenager kiss. So we were, Kim and Ben and I were talking about how we can differentiate the kisses, because there's a lot of kisses in that movie. I think there are 5 if you count the puppet kiss, which I think you should count the puppet.
Of course.
Okay. So like the night after, when they're in the car and he like comes in, uh, the idea there was having like a teenager kid, like a young love kid, like that passionate, just like devour each other kiss, versus like the really like beautiful romantic sort of kiss the night before. Anyways, in the cut, and we ran out of time, so it got cut short. I had the extended version, which was so fun to watch. It was absolutely my favorite part. They kiss so passionately, and then they like pull apart. His hair's like just like everywhere, and then they have such an like just a perfectly timed comedic, like the timing was so perfect, and then they just kind of went at it again, and then they pulled apart and drove away, and it was just like I loved it so much. It was such a chef's kiss moment, and of course it was one of those last things that had to get squeezed down. I don't know, they kiss quite a bit in this movie, so it's okay that a bit of a kiss got pulled away, but I loved it so much. So that is a moment that every time I watch it, I was like, I think about the longer version.
Well, I feel for you because that kiss isn't a typical Hallmark kiss. Like you say, it's that teenage kaboom kiss.
Mhm.
So, to get the first and then pull away and being like that moment about what are we thinking and then do it again
So good.
that would have been brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, so good.
Well, you talked a little bit about, you said, you had Ben and Kimberly who have, awesome comedic skills, but then you also, you have Ashley Williams and then Paul Campbell. So you pretty much directed 4 of probably the funniest people in the Hallmark universe. Like, what was it like for you balancing, your visions with their natural, just comedic abilities?
I mean, I think you said it. They all are all of them have such strong comedic timing and are just so sharp that I think you just have to let people do their thing at that point. Like at that point, you're yes-anding what they're putting forward. So I think it becomes very much a collaboration in, I think everyone just wants the best moment. So we're all just creating this thing together. And that's the most exciting thing when you're collaborating with people that are at the top of their game, and you get to just sort of play with them. It's just so rewarding. Ashley Williams and Andrew Walker, some of the finest humans. She's so gracious. I don't know where she came from or what her situation is, but she is a rare human. She's such a gem to work with. And so with her, when I worked with them on Jinglebell Run, every scene they just yes-anded and elevated the material, and were just like, I love actors when it's not really about the words. The words are there. They say all the words, but it's just the moments in between the text that that are so alive that they just really bring out. And constantly adding really funny buttons. And I mean, the two of them were just so fantastic. And Ashley Williams can work with any type of weird pivot blocking. She'll make it look so normal. And she's just a dream actor for a director. She just, is so fantastic. I cannot say enough about her. And no wonder she has this program, Make Her Mark, which came after I was directing. But yeah, she's very supportive of directors. And then, yeah, Paul is hilarious. I mean, his scene in Santa Claus where he's doing the Shakespearean monologue, I just, it's great. It's also one of my favorite scenes in that movie. And then, yeah, sometimes the best thing you can do is just give the space for people to, find moments and play, and then you get to capture some really cool things and get to laugh in the edit with this editor's assistants and the editors. Everyone just comes in and rewatches the scene a bunch of times. It's so funny. I mean, that's just so fun. That part, I love that part of it. Yeah.
Well, you talked about Paul and his, the Shakespeare monologue. When you saw the script and you saw Paul Campbell playing Paul Campbell, and you're reading and you're on page whatever you're on at that point, page 7.
Yeah.
Did you sit there and go, "Oh, this is a funny Paul, Campbell cameo," like the rest of us fans? And then when you're page 8, page 9, like you keep seeing him, you're like, "Oh, wait!" Like, were you blown away by the fact that he was actually a character throughout the entire thing?
I mean, it was so. I knew that this would just. Well, at first, I wasn't sure if we wanted to make sure that he would be down to come in and do this character, this play himself in the movie, and he was so game for it. So that to me was just exciting when I found out that he wanted to be a part of it. And then 3 of them together, Ben and Paul and Kim. I mean, they're just they're very, very, like, the synergy is fantastic. So it was just a really good trio. And it really set the stage. And so yeah, I was stoked. And also he's also like he yes ands everything. So does Ben, so does Kimberly. I think any sort of like actor that has comedic instincts, they're used to sort of having a little bit more of that flow, like a little bit like you can tell that they can kind of yes and the material, like they elevate it and they bring their comedic sensibilities to it. And it's just really, it's so fun to watch and also to play with.
Well, you got to direct Paul Campbell and Andrew Walker and Kimberly Sustad. You feel a little cheated that you didn't get Tyler Hines then this year?
Yeah, what's going on? I mean,
he was in like 70 movies. I don't know what's going
not
on.
mine.
Why didn't you get
what's
one?
up, Tyler? Avoiding.
We'll write a sternly worded letter to him.
Sternly, very sternly worded.
Well, you were on Holidazed, which, by the way, is some of the absolute best programming Hallmark has ever done. The Plus programming has been insanely good, and you're in there, acting, and you had like Aaron Cahill, Ian Harding, Holland Roden, like the big names of Hallmark actors. But then you also had John C. McGinley, Dennis Haysbert, Virginia Madsen, like these non-Hallmark biggies and stuff like that. What was that like, being in this huge cast of like just talent upon talent upon talent?
That show was, you said it, had a huge ensemble cast. I think somebody posted a behind the scenes of the trailers where everyone gets ready, and you guys call it base camp. In Canada they call it the circus. Anyways, it was just a field with like trailers after trailers. I think there was like 37 cast trailers. That it was just our one day. I think we had 52 cast in or something for one of the finale episodes. Yeah, I mean, that was a wild ride. I think it was so fun. I got to know Holland Roden a lot better. Her and I still keep in touch. I just saw her in LA. She is wonderful. Virginia Madsen is such a gem. I mean, Johnny C was, I mean, afterwards, Gina, who's one of the showrunners and writer, she had a big like Italian dinner at her house where she cooked for everyone. And then I helped organize sort of in Victoria. We shot this in Victoria, which is an island, Vancouver Island. It's like about an hour and 45-minute boat ride to capital of BC. Fun fact. Anyways, we shot it mostly there, and they have this place called Butchart Gardens, and they do this light walkthrough. Anyways, we all went through this, did this like school field trip outing, and then went back to Gina's and had this big Italian holiday dinner. It felt like you were in this giant extended family, but they were so fun to work with. Holidazed, I can't believe that they pulled that off. Just that many cast, that many episodes. There's so many different storylines all intermingling, and I agree with you. The programming on Hallmark Plus has been fantastic.
Well, you had Stacey Harding direct that final episode. She did the first two and then the final one. And that final one is that one probably that had the 52, people there. Were you, as an actor who's also a director, sort of watching her and saying, how are you, like, taking notes on how she manages that, what had to be chaos and made it make total sense?
She also has like a strong background as a first AD. So I think it just came naturally to her to organize that many people and that much sort of chaos in such a easy way. She was just it was so effortless. She's such a great director. I love working with her. And she basically orchestrated it like choreography. We'd shoot up this section of the party and then that section of the party, and then this row can go sit down and then come back, and we're all kind of huddled in this house together as we did like sections of this wedding and things like that. And I remember I had messaged her because I was so panicked. So they had non-alcoholic wine at the table. And I just was like, oh, right, non-alcoholic wine, I'll have a sip. But then I realized it's not going to look like non-alcoholic wine on camera. And my character just got pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, I ruined this whole entire like shot. Like I messaged her because I woke up in the middle of the night. I was like, I messaged her. I was like, oh, I think you ruined your entire scene. I think. She's like, nobody saw that. And no, you're totally fine. She was just laughed about it. She thought it was no big deal and nobody saw it. And actually, it was not even on camera. I haven't seen it. Maybe that's an Easter egg. But she said it was fine. And she had no concern. She just thought it was very funny that I woke up in the middle of the night, cold sweats about that. But at the time, it's like this kind of, usually they put like grape juice or something. So in my mind, I was like, oh, right, this is fine. And I was just like, oh, the idiot. You just revealed that you're pregnant.
When you got the script for Jinglebell Run, which also was one of the best movies of the year. By the way, you directed two of the absolute top. Now, I know you did three, but two of the very top of the movies. Jinglebell Run, everyone loved, and for me, we did our ranking. Santa Claus was my top movie of the entire.
Oh wow!
But when you got that script for Jinglebell Run, and it's this amazing race thing, which seems to have a lot of locations, and maybe it doesn't. Like you say, maybe it's, oh, hey, we're in one place and we just film it three different ways. But when you saw that, was that like a challenge of trying to figure out how to make this thing that looks like this big, huge, tour of the world, or not the world, the country, basically in a Hallmark budget and set?
Yeah, I mean that was each movie has I feel like each movie has their challenge that you get your mountain that you have to climb. This one was definitely the amount of sets and locations that we had to juggle. And I think in the original script there was even another city and a bunch more sets within that city, and it was just not physically possible at that point. I think we moved almost every single day. And then if we were in a location for more than one day, which was rare, within that location, we were set shuffling constantly. So it definitely, by the end, that movie, as you say, was our biggest challenge, was constantly moving so that it could look like we went to different cities within America. And some of those locations were not close to each other. So it makes so that was the biggest logistical thing about that movie, even though that script was so fun. But I remember the production designer, Heather Coots, is fantastic. She and our location manager, Sean, I think we did our initial meeting, and I think we broke it down to like 60 something sets. I think we got it down a little bit from there, but it was an ultimate challenge for them with our small, like we have 15 days or something like that to shoot it all. So that was our challenge. Fun though, every day. And I would say that to crew, I was like, I would ask the crew, what would you prefer, being in a house in Langley for 12 of the 15 days, where you're trying to make the same living room look different, or complete and utter like exhaustion, chaos, moving every day to a new location, but everything is different every day. Like but you're so burnt out. What would you prefer? And I don't know if they, it was pretty much like a mixed bag, depended on the department and the person. But I mean, definitely DP cam ops, they liked the fact that we could see something different every day. I mean, it's hard when also challenging when you're in a house, like, well, speaking of the third movie, when you're at a farm, the same farm for 12 of the whatever days, at that point, I would try to just shoot in as many different locations as possible, because I feel like I like visual variety, and I just find that you're just making the same living room look different from a different angle if you can,
Well, we are a mystery podcast primarily. Do you think you'd like to direct one?
Yes, for sure. I think they're fun. There's some fun banter. You get to do a lot of action. It kind of isn't that Jinglebell Run sort of vibe, in that you're like, there's a lot going on. There's lots of storylines, lots of characters. I like that aspect of it, I think.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming on and talking about these. Like I say, you really were home run and during the season. So hope to see some more of you, which I guess that's the next question is, anything coming up that you can share?
I don't know if I can share it yet, but I have something coming up that is different, and I'm very excited about. We are in prep at the moment.
Can you share, is it in our Hallmark universe, or is it?
It's in your Hallmark universe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am, yeah. And it's a very exciting one. So look out for that.
I assume it's a Tyler Hines movie.
Yeah. Tyler Hines, he's playing all the characters. It's a one-man show, just because I want to even it out.
Perfect. Love it. Well, Lucie, thank you very much for coming on. I know you, like you're saying, you have a busy day, so I appreciate your time, and would love to have you back sometime.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.